we get to Shelly. Shelly. I just don't know what to say. Rafanelli wines are so good, and they've been good for a very long time. And so Shelly has a very strong father figure who who has...
That's saying it nicely. You probably have more stories about my family than I do.
I doubt that, but no, I have more stories I can tell than you can.
True.
You grew up in the wine business too, right?
I did, just like Adam. Born and raised in Dry Creek Valley, and had my foot in the door. I'm the oldest of three. My dad had three girls, and I got to know my grandfather, Americo, the most, and I got to work with him in the cellar. I was on the bottling line with my headphones, listening to music when they bottled by hand upstairs. And I got to see all aspects of the business and join in at harvest. So I was just born and raised in it. It was natural.
So when did your family get to Dry Creek?
Gosh, my great-grandparents both came over from Italy separately. They came over via Ellis Island, migrated out to San Francisco, and they met in San Francisco, got married, and my great-grandmother, a lot of people don't know this, but she was from the winemaking and vineyard growing family in Italy. So it was really her doing that got us into the business, not my great-grandfather, Alberto. So when they met and got married, she didn't want to raise a family in the city. She wanted to be in the country and migrated up to Hillsburg because it reminded her of home, northern Italy. And they settled right into Hillsburg, and that was the original winery, and it kind of went from there.
So you've been pretty much in the same place for a long time as a family.
Yes.
So you've set the roots down deep.
Yes.
And Zinfandel were part of those roots, clearly.
Yes. I did leave to go to college. My parents were really great. It was a way of life. We worked out in the vineyards. We helped out, but it was never forced upon us. And left and went to Cal Poly. And my freshman year, I took a wine course and made a Central Coast Pinot Noir and called home. I was so proud. My dad's like, "You could have done this here." What? There I met my future husband. He was at Fresno State at the time, and we were both ag business majors. And he didn't quite know what his direction was, and he met me and he met my family. And
he suddenly got direction.
Oh, he was brave. He took a year off from school and went to live with my family and work for my dad. And I said, no way. I was a senior at the time, and I said, "You're not going to go live at my house." And my dad put him right out in the vineyards with the crew. But my dad's a big, proponent of higher education, and said, "Go back, get your diploma." But he worked with my dad, and he learned from the ground up, and he was the one who actually convinced me at graduation, you need to go back to the family business.
Yeah, it's not really where you thought you were going to end up. You thought maybe you'd be at a big winery or something like that?
I decided...
You were like marketing degree or something.
That was my concentration, and I thought, I'm going to go work for a big winery and get into the marketing. And he said, "No, you've got something here, and your parents really need the help." And because of him, I ended up going back with my resume to my dad. My dad is very old school, and pitching to him that, you can hire me. I can do this. And he hired me. I came back home, and my husband went back to school. So I graduated, came back home to work, and he left and went and finished his education. And my dad, he threw me in the cellar, and I started from the ground up with the crew. I took some courses at UC Davis, of course, but it's a learn by doing, and I couldn't have had a better teacher. He's not the most patient, yeah.
Well, Rafanelli, of course, has been making great wine for a long time, and you've had most of it sold direct.
Yes.
So that marketing degree of yours, I think, gets more used in the direct thing. But your mother had a bit of a reputation. She was not.
She was
always,
tough.
If you didn't phone ahead, what happened?
yeah, you might not get in. And she was actually working long and hard of getting placement into restaurants and selling the wine. And my dad was working both the vineyards and the winery at the time. That's why they needed some help. It was just really the two of them. And after my grandfather had passed away, it was a lot for them to take on. So when I came on board, there really there was no marketing department. The wine was selling itself. It was selling out every year. And so that's why I got thrown into production, which is far more rewarding. I love being able to see the product from start to finish. And
So you inherited really a winemaking style that came down, from your grandfather to your father. Your father probably modified it a bit. I know that he got smitten with Cabernet as well. So you guys do Cabernet and Zinfandel. So here you are. You're the newbie, and suddenly it's like in your hands. Did Dave turn it over to you right away, or did he say, "Do what I do, shut up"?
no, he was really good in the beginning. He showed me. He likes to sit back and kind of give it to you and say, "Okay, let's see how you make a mistake and learn from your mistakes." And it's still questionable as to when I actually became winemaker, because I think I kind of gave myself that title after so long. I was like, I'm doing everything. I'm making all the decisions. So I'm not assistant. I'm not cellar rat anymore. I'm winemaker now. So I made up my own business card and moved up the ladder. And but he was really good as far as letting me do subtle changes. If it's not broke, don't fix it. We have a very consistent style. And we had a very loyal following, so you definitely don't want to make big changes. But we changed and we brought in all new equipment when I started. We started hand sorting, and everything was just subtle changes, as just to more finessing. I started a Merlot program, which my dad was dead set against. Let me play with one barrel, and now he says you need to make more. So. But we have resisted growth. We definitely have stayed true.
So what happens in your winery? You bring in the fruit, and you actually grow the fruit as well for the most part, right?
Well, yeah, it's nice because my husband's now the vineyard manager, so it's very in-house. And it makes for a very exciting time at harvest, a lot of explicatives, because it's all family. A lot of people say, we'd love to come and help at harvest and bottling. I was like, no. We'd scare you guys away. And my husband still says, it's like, I don't understand you guys. You're Italian, and you're yelling at each other, and 10 minutes later, you're all loving each other. It's all good. And I said, that's us. We have a lot of passion. And that's what you need in this industry. You've got to be passionate, because it's a way of life. And
you have to bring that kind of energy to it. You guys definitely
you do. You have to love it.
Yeah. So small fermenters, big fermenters, native yeast, added yeast. What's your approach?
Still the same. Open top fermenters, anywhere from 2 to 3 ton, and still manual punch downs 4 times a day. And I'm there for all those punch downs. That's why I don't have to go to the gym. No fining, no filtration. So then I actually use more commercial yeast. And if anyone knows me, I'm a little bit of a control freak and a neat freak. So that's right up my alley. And I like to be able to control those fermentations, because I'm not going to be filtering that wine. But we really like to work with the vineyards, and as we say, I mean, as you know, my dad and my grandfather, you start cutting wings off, you pull the leaves. They did a lot of things in the vineyards that changed the style and kind of paved the way for what Zinfandel is today. And I've learned from that, and it's growing the grapes, and then it's brought to me, and then I'm just kind of, molding it from there.
So French oak, American oak.
All French oak. My grandfather was American oak, and my dad introduced French oak. And every time I go to the blind, I bring out the wines and the blind tastings. It's like French oak. And not that I want to pay that much, but it just matches our style the best.
Yeah, your wines have always been in that sort of solid, middle of the road Zinfandel style. They're not lean, but they've got great acid. Mm-hmm. They're not overripe. It's always been proportion and balance with you guys, which is pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah, we kind of wanted to stay true to our style. We want to make what we like to drink, and when it was popular to be a big Zin and high alcohol and get all that fruit extraction, we just said, no, that's not our style. We want to pick it. We want to keep that alcohol. in that 14% range. We want to make a food-friendly wine because after all, that's what it's supposed to be meant for, is to enjoy with meals. And we just resisted that and just stayed with it. And like my dad says, everything is a cycle. It all goes in a cycle. And as we see, we're all coming back down to more balanced, food-friendly wines.
All making wine like Rafanelli now.
I'm not sure.
So tell us about these two wines.
Okay, so we've got I brought the 12s in and the 15. Unlike a lot of Zinfandel producers that do a lot of vineyard designates and numerous labels, I have 14 blocks that I work with, but ultimately I blend all those blocks in to make the ones in every year, which makes my life simple because then I don't have to come up with a lot of different labels. But I do hope that they all work together. The 12 is just showing you how Zin ages. It was that double whammy year. We followed 10 and 11, and those were tough years, and 12 was this huge crop, but great weather. And it was like you had a good crop finally, but you also had great quality. And I like the 12. It was a great vintage classic in our style, and it's aging classically. Then you have the 15. That's our current release, drought year. We started harvesting August 17th.
Wow.
That's just that's way too early of a harvest. Cuts off your summer.
Yeah, why make white wine anymore? You can harvest red wine at the same time.
Exactly. So that's our current release. And again, I like it. You can see that it's still, it's very vibrant. You can pick up the oak overtones, but the fruit's there. And it's just got that nice acidity and that nice balance.
Wonderful wine, Shelly. As always, thank you very, very much.
Well, thanks.
And thank you to the panel. Now, so at your Dry Creek Primer, time for a panel change again.